T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Welcome to Sports and Other Stuff. Yes, what a week in college football. Michigan finally beat Ohio State. The coaching carousel starts, and we'll also talk about the NFL, highlights of all the big games, plus we'll have a little sports of yesteryear. Lugs, get us started. What a week. Jim Harbaugh can win a big game. Did you know that?
I congratulate him, but I think the big winner this week has to be Lincoln Riley. I mean, the man, have you seen that contract or supposed contract? He basically gets $110 million. They buy his 2 homes in Oklahoma, pay off his deal there, bring him to L.A., buy him a $6 million home.
What?
And then my favorite part of the whole thing is he gets anytime use of their corporate jet. So if he wants, like, let's say, a pizza from over here at Lots of Pasta, he can send his cousin Billy on the jet to fly out here and get a pizza and fly back. So I that's just crazy to me. The number is floating around, and we can talk a little bit in a moment about Brian Kelly. But what do you think, T-Dog, about Lincoln Riley?
Yeah, I'll first start off with Lincoln Riley. I find his move more intriguing just because, he took Oklahoma to the playoffs multiple times. Obviously, they fell short 3. Obviously they never had the horses in terms of defensive line players to, I guess, really affect the Clemsons, the Alabamas of the world. But other than that, they had a very quick path to the playoffs and I think on some level, I think that's his reason for leaving Oklahoma, because they're joining the SEC. And again, I'm not saying this is the reason why he did it. I'm sure there's other reasons why too, but it is an easier path. Like someone has already joked about, like, SEC honks will say, is like, oh, he's not tough enough to. No, it's a smart way to go. It's an easier path to making sure, because you have Oregon, Washington has had some prestige, but it's been a while.
Utah,
I mean, it's really Utah is a pretty solid team, but that's the thing. Stanford has fallen in disarray. UCLA felt like early on in the year it was gonna start to be resurrected, and evidently that is not the case. Arizona State, I think, might be exploded with all their off the field issues. So it's just a clear path. And obviously there's so many great players that come out of the state of California. Not that Lincoln Riley was ever bad at recruiting, but I just think he's now on a pipeline. We always talk about pipelines in football. He's now on a pipeline. A lot of good quarterbacks. Not that he had problem getting quarterbacks, because Malachi, the second overall quarterback, is coming with him. He was going to go to Oklahoma. Now he is following him to USC. So
plus the transfer portal, I think he can have the pick of the people he wants in the transfer portal. I mean, kid gets a shot at sunshine year round and not playing in cold weather. But he denies that SEC claim that he wanted to be able to get away from that. He denies it, but I think you're right. He saw the writing on the wall. You can't play Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, those guys, and win championships as easily.
That's the thing. I think Lincoln Riley is a good enough coach. I think in time, if he stayed in the SEC, he would still be one of the better coaches in the SEC. I just think he can still get as probably good as talent, if not better, at USC than he would at Oklahoma in the SEC. Because I think Oklahoma in the SEC, actually, their ability to grab talent will be better now because it's in the SEC. So like I said, I just think it's an easier path. I think it's because Lincoln Riley's smart, not because he's afraid. I don't think Lincoln Riley's afraid. I'm not going to put that.
He saw the writing on the wall. I mean, why beat your brains out, week in and week out?
I agree.
At one point, the Pac-10, 12, 15, whatever it is,
12.
They wanted 12. Oklahoma. Remember when they were trying to get Oklahoma in there? So they got an Oklahoma boy. Hey, what about your man Brian Kelly to LSU? Can they pay touchdown Jesus enough to keep the?
Well, Kelly's got a better path at LSU than Notre Dame, maybe, but the going to the SEC, I'm not sure I get this.
I'll go. I think his makes more sense than Lincoln Riley, even though obviously too he's taken Notre Dame to the playoffs multiple times too. But obviously the main thing that always stopped him, which I think that makes the move more understandable, is as good as Notre Dame is. And this is the thing, people can squawk on him. I know he hit a point where he had to really overhaul things. I believe it was in 2016. But if you look at after that, I think he's essentially gotten Notre Dame to their ceiling. Like they're a 10-win team, and it's a very impressive. The problem is, I think he understands he can't win a title at Notre Dame, and I know that pains to hear Notre Dame.
Why can't he?
I don't think he can get the level of talent that is needed. They are good, but they don't have the depth. They don't have, and also if you look at how if the playoff the situation will change probably with the 12. Notre Dame will have to play 4 playoff games. Where if he wins the SEC, he'll only have to play 3 because I think there is going to be buys involved. So
is it a difference of academic standards at Notre Dame versus LSU? He can get different players. Can't get them at Notre Dame.
I think there's a little degree of that. I think some of that's overblown. I just think it's easier to get. And also, it also again, LSU is a pipeline. There's a lot of great players that are in your backyard. So and obviously he's already a great recruiter, across the United States because Notre Dame was essentially the original college to really be great at recruiting nationally. So he's already got that part of his caveat. The nice thing for him now is in his just backyard, he can scoop up a lot of great players from Louisiana, and then he can fill out the rest or just key on the top tier players across the nation. So,
but the bottom line for me is money, Jack. $100 million. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Whatever football happens, he's in a real good place now. He doesn't get the corporate jet, but then of course the corporate jet is a flying alligator in LSU, so that may not work out so well.
Flying tiger, I think it's a flying tiger.
I just want to say I find him more fascinating because obviously he's probably still got a few years left, and obviously maybe they're not gonna be across from each other long enough because obviously Saban's 70, but I find it really interesting because I feel Kelly with LSU's kind of cachet and ability, and I know this has killed people before, but I think we could all agree. Kelly is a good enough coach. He's very well organized. He is committed to winning. He is very close in terms of mindset and style, not the same, but similar to Saban. If there's ever going to be a mirror person to go against Saban for multiple years, possibly, it is Kelly. And when Saban maybe retires or whatnot, I feel there's a good chance Kelly can really take over the SEC because I think he is that good a coach. I just think some of the cap in terms of the amount of talent he can get at Notre Dame has held him back to some extent.
Our crack research team reports Kelly is 60, Lincoln Riley 38.
Oh, yeah. He's got a lot more paydays in his book.
But you're right. It's about the Benjamins. I mean, no question about it. I mean, the guy wants to secure his future, walk away nice.
$100 million?
Right.
Oh, seriously. Come on.
Bayou Bengals. It's all good.
And just so they're not left out, how do you all feel about Napier at Florida?
A good question.
I'm not impressed with Napier. I have to say it. I'm just not. But it's not he'll grow into it, I would guess. So that's sort of my take on that.
Hot take.
I'm not going to act like I have a strong take either. I will just say that going back from which I didn't know how big a problem it was with the Florida fan base. The one thing I think the Florida fan base will be happy about with Napier in comparison to Mullen was one of the main things that killed Mullen was his inability or his just lack of drive to really be obsessed with recruiting. Because obviously college football comes down a lot to that, just getting in talent. Your X's and O's are, I'm not going to say isn't important, but the main thing is just getting in talent because you could run the most cookie cutter offense. If you have a bunch of 5-stars, it could still be, the top 20. So Napier is a known obsessed kind of recruiting coach. So that will, and again, he's in Florida, again, talking about pipelines. He is on a pipeline. So this is the reason why all 3 of these jobs got filled fairly quickly. Just like Oklahoma and Notre Dame, I feel regardless of what other jobs are open, those are the jobs that will be filled. And then there will be a domino effect probably from those 2. But still, those will be the next ones filled.
Well, what do you make of them announcing Bob Stoops as interim coach, the old from Oklahoma? Interesting, isn't that? Why'd they do that?
It's not surprising because they've not had an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator that stepped forward that was strong. Because the fan base, they're going to go to a bowl game now.
Yeah.
So the fan base wants to be able to have somebody familiar, I would think.
But Bob Stoops was making that Jake from State Farm money, man, on Fox, sitting on the set. That's cake job.
Oh, I think he'll go back to that. I think he's just doing a solid for Oklahoma. Obviously he didn't have the same position as this person. Essentially, he's like a quasi Brian Alvarez because Alvarez did this for Wisconsin multiple times.
That's true, in and out.
Yeah.
Coach today, coach tomorrow.
I will say, kind of just backtracking a little bit. The other thing that's really fascinating is if you look at how like these conference championships will play out, and possibly, obviously, with Georgia probably beating Alabama by a large enough, I think, disparity. Notre Dame, the crazy thing, Notre Dame could be in the playoffs. So it's
interesting.
Kelly is leaving a team that will there's a good chance that Kelly and the Notre Dame will get into the playoffs. So like he's leaving a team as they possibly go into the playoffs. That's, I think, just kind of shows you he's just like, it's not going to happen. Maybe we make it to the championship.
And he did exactly what he's done before. I mean, at all of his jobs, he just basically said, I'm out of here. It's like I've forgotten the receiver at Cincinnati said that he found out like in the newspaper or something weird. It was just like, what? Coach is gone. And again, they were going to a bowl game. It was not a major bowl game, but it was a bowl game. So
not bad for the coach Kelly who started at Central Michigan, huh? How about that? Central Michigan, Cincinnati. Oh, yeah. Notre Dame, now LSU.
Cooper.
Yes, sir. Right, Ron Cooper. And the other thing about Riley is, USC hasn't been relevant since Pete Carroll and Reggie Bush, and we know how that ended. So, yes. And there's the other thing. Coach, you want to live in Norman, Oklahoma or Los Angeles, California? I think that kind of solves that problem right there. All right, What about Michigan, Ohio State? Jim Harbaugh won a big game, probably got some new khakis out of the deal. What do you guys think?
I tell you, it was interesting to watch, but they put the pressure on Stroud when it needed to be there. It was an impressive win, but watching it, I felt like the whole time that Michigan was going to do it. It was strange. Normally when Ohio State plays, I go, they're going to do it. But this time I felt like Michigan had the number, and they stopped third downs when they needed to, and they scored points for once.
Yeah, I think the big difference is it's funny going back to last week. You just saw how badly Ohio State just buzzsaw Michigan State. Just like, oh, is this a precursor to what's going to happen to Michigan?
Right.
I mean, even though Michigan State did beat Michigan, the difference is Michigan has a secondary, and they also